Alright, Chapter 13, Protective Grounds. Reference Standard ASTM 855. Standard Specification Temporary Protective Grounds to be used with de-energized electrical power lines. Equipment protection of the line is most important within the transmission or distribution line, or a portion of the line is removed with the surface to be worked on by the de-energizing procedure. De-energizing procedure precautions are taken to ensure the line with the de-energized before working is started. Remain de-energized until the work is completed. The line is ground short-circuited whenever it is to be worked on or use the de-energized procedure. De-energized line are grounded with the protection for all the men working on the line. Protective grounds are installed on the ground in manner and short-circuit conductors so that the linemen, everything in the working area within will be an equal potential of the man shorted out. This is the man shorted out concept. Think of the grounding and shorting circuiting of the bonding leads will carry any of the current that may appear with the potential differences in the work area. When a line is to be worked on, the de-energized line must be grounded with a short-circuited work location, even when the work location inside of the disconnection with the de-energized line. Working is done in more than one location in the line section. The line section may be worked on with the most grounded short-circuited at one location. Only the conductors being worked on must grounded at work location. When a conductor is to be cut up, and the conductor must be grounded with both sides of the open and with the ground on one side of the open bridge with the jumper cable across the point to be open. A cluster block, figure 13.1, it can be installed with a wooden pole structure for the facility of the ground connection to help maintain the equal potential area of the area on the pole. This shows grounded cluster installed with a 4-wire 3-phase line conductor mounted at the side of the pole ground and neutral conductor with the ground conductors are created with the low impedancy of the short circuit around the lineman's work area. Lines are grounded before the work is started, but must remain until the work is complete with the same precaution for the apply with the new lines for the construction with the progress for the point where they can be energized any short for the IEE guide for the protective grounding of power lines to provide additional information about the insulation protective ground. With the insulation protective grounds are short circuit leads at the work site protect again for the hazard for the static charges on the line, induced voltage, external energizing of the line, de-energized line with the energized line and parallel to each other. The de-energized line can pick up with the static charge from the energized line because of the proximity of the line, but the de-energized line can have the voltage induced on it in the same manner with the secondary transformer. The amount of the static voltage pick up with the de-energized line depends on the length of the parallel weather conditions and many other variable factors. It could be a hazard. The precautions must be taken to work protect against the ground line of at the location where the work is to be completed. With the de-energized line of the ground of the location note from where the work is to be begun, the induced voltage will be present at the work location. Grounding of the line work location will eliminate damage from the induced voltage. Grounding of the work site will drain out any static voltage of the ground and protect the linemen with the potential hands. Grounding shorting circuits will protect against the hazard of the line with it becoming the energized with the accidental choosing of the line, accidental contact with the energized line with cross the de-energized line. If circuit should be inadvertently energized the ground, short circuit with the line will become the protective relay to initiate tripping of the circuit breaker and source end of the energized line in a fraction of the second de-energized hot line. During the short interval time of the grounds and short circuit time of the line being worked on will protect the line. If it isn't grounded, it isn't dead. Testing before grounding. The lineman must test each line conductor to be grounded to ensure that the energized before the protective grounds are installed. The circuit can be tested on a high voltage voltmeter other than special testing equipment that produce the audible sound. High voltage voltmeter connected between the ground and conductor to energize with the static charge will give it an indication of voltage, then will gradually indicate the voltage has reduced to zero. As the static charge is drained off the ground through the high voltage voltmeter, each conductor of the line must be tested to ensure that the de-energized immediately prior to installing the ground conductors. Protect the ground insulation. After the testing of the completed protective ground should be installed with the following sequence. 1. Connect one ground with the bushing to the established ground with the ground neutral conductor with the distribution line with the grounding of the static with the transmission line best for the established ground with the driving ground rod with the work site with the connected with the neutral conductor with the static wire provide additional protection. If the work is to be performed on a wooden pole structure, the insulation of the cluster block of the pole with the below of the work with the area connected with the ground conductor will ensure the establishment of the equal potential zone of the pole with the lineman performing the work. 2. Connect the other end of the ground conductor to the hot line with the bottom of the conductor vertical construction with the closest conductor with the horizontal construction. Install of the ground jump of the ground conductor to the unground conductor sequence of until the conductors are all conductive with the ground are short circuited together. When a connection is made with a phase conductor with the ground leading the connection with the earth itself becomes a part of the electrical circuit. 5. When work is to complete with the protective grounds are removed, to always remove the ground from the line conductors in reverse sequence. Remove the connection to the ground last. Figure 13.3 and through 13.5 show the paragraphs of fault currents, pausing, and viewing times various types of the conductors. Shows the lineman completing the installation protective ground without using a hot line with the grounding operation complete with the connection with the cluster buster or the cluster block with the man with the pole before the work area with the driven the ground ground jumping with the cluster block of the one phase of the jumper was complete with the sequence of the bottom of the top, providing the lineman with his own protection. The protective grounds are installed with the ground static wire at the top of the poles to provide the effective ground source. Alright, show the seconds and amperes times 1005, 1050, 105 to 1. So this is maximum allowable fall currents for the copper grounding with the total current around the time of the minimum so some of the very close exceeds the IPCA recommendation of the calculation by 191. Protective ground requirements low resistant path of the earth, clean connection, tight connections made with the power points the adequate current carrying capacity of the ground and equipment source of the ground. Good available to the ground with the under-earth connections system neutrally, however, usually with the not available to the transmission line. If the common neutral is located where the line is to be ground, but also must be connected with the ground system on the structure so that all the grounds immediately vicinity are connected together. Times in seconds over the amperes 100 times 1000 of the root mean squared and cycle the copper conductor 40 degrees ambient. And the fusing current time with the copper conductor is 40 degrees Celsius ambient temperature. Alright, then you have your seconds over the times 1000 amperes root mean squared times 10,000 fusing current aluminum conductor 40 degrees Celsius ambient temperatures. Alright, if the structure is metal, the neutral shall be bound to the steel with the permanent connection with the temporary jump of the structure wooden pole head with the ground wire connection with the static wire. The neutral should be permanently connected with the ground wire. If there is no permanent connection with the temporary jumper, should be installed. If no ground wire is on the pole, the common neutral shall be temporarily bound with whatever the temporary grounding connection is with the ground line. Static wires are connected to the earth at many points along with the line with a provided low resistant path with the ground circle. They are normally available to use the ground in connection with the ground leads. If the line has a static wire, is usually grounded at each pole. A ground wire runs down the wooden pole connected to the ground rod. All metal towers are adequately grounded whenever they are installed. Several ground connection points provided the connection between the metal structure and the ground rod has not been cut and disconnected. If exposed leads or structure of the ground should be checked with the continuity of the neutral conductor static wire and ground structure is not available to have any of the good metal object with the rest of the anchor rod or ground rod with it obviously extended several feet then to the ground as the ground is to protect the ground source. If no such ground is available, the lineman must provide with the ground by driving the ground rod, screwing down a temporary anchor until it is firm in contact with the moist soil. Figure 13.6 through 13.11 show the various types of ground connections. Underground system protective grounds. Underground transmission distribution cable conductors are not readily accessible with the grounding. Transmission originating substations can only be ground portable to direct the ground equipment if the capable termination points to the same manner as described for the overhead transmission circuits. Figure 13.6 show the running ground connection designed to keep the conductor ground with the string with the operation and then process the rope as you secure the connector in place. Show the cluster block and then the cluster block to the left. The method of the grounding of the bridge conductors across the open point. If the cable termination points are not accessible, the special with the manufacturer provided the grounding circuit must be either the underground distribution cable to originate with the substation which gear supply the complete underground circuit that must be tapped to the ground with the special equipment that provided with the substation before work is performed on the cable conductors. Underground equipment itself with the valve that must be equipped with oil switches that can be utilized with any ground cable conductor. Alright, this shows the V cluster block over the ground wire that the U to the bus connecting negative and ground end of the negative of the grounding leads. Static ground wire down pole, a metal cluster block equipped with a 4-foot chain binder, connection bar accumulated with 4 ground lead cables. This shows the grounding and shorting circuit jumping are equipped with a C-type clamp with the design to operate with a hotline jumper cables 1 to 0 with copper conductor large with the large number of the strands provided flexibility. Underground cable circuits that originate with the riser pole with the overhead of the line with the ground with the riser pole protected with the portable protective grounding equipment. The underground circuit cable circuit that originating the pad mounted switchgear can be grounded with the switchgear near the cable termination switches and switchgear was open and isolated with the cable circuit with the opening of the switch provided with a visible break in the circuit. Right, initial second and short jumping, initial first short jumping, third installing a lead ground cluster block, installing cluster block, protective ground installed with the conductor, single circuit wooden pole sub transmission line, high voltage voltmeter detecting either the line to be for the sure that the circuit does not feedback with the remote with the providing. Proving the cable to the energized special grounding elbow conductors available above the cable to termination application portable ground device with the switchgear underground cable conductors terminating the pad mounted transformer can be isolated and tested grounded for at the transformer location. A man opens the pad mount with the transformer compartment there and so the feed through the device with the hotline grip all clamps take with prepare for the installation ground operation. The cable may be worked or be located, isolated to separate from the source of the energy of the remote end. Lineman, cableman, identify the cable to be worked on at a pad mounted transformer with all the marking of the cableman for the circuit. When the proper circuit cable has been identified, the elbow cable terminations can be separated from the bushing of the transformer. The grip all cable all clamp stick. Shift the ground lead, the ground bolting, ground lead ladder installed with the outer side of the K-frame. Protective grounds installed with the conductors and single circuit transmission line construction on steel towers. Lineman is installed with the elbow with the bushing of the feed through the device with a hot stick. A high voltage tester is equipped with a special connection can be used to test the isolated cable through the second bushing of the feed through by device. If the cable is found to be de-energized, the lineman cannot be the special grounding conducted to the ground wires of the head mounted to the transformer compartment and plate for the bushing and the feed through the device. The grip all clamp stick with the cable down proper ground so that the necessary work can be performed safely. And that was the Chapter 13, Protective Ground.